Hi! Now we are going to see all the apocalypse prophecies of Parravicini fulfilled. This is part 1, which shows the fulfilled prophecies of the beginning of the end, from apocalyptic signs to the Third World War. Let's begin. 1. Apocalyptic sounds. The first are the apocalyptic trumpets and the famous astral sounds and atmospheric noises all over the world. I actually heard these sounds once, more than 10 years ago, approximately, I think one night before dawn in the park where I filmed the fiction that later came true. It didn't occur to me to record it, and I don't think I even had a cell phone capable of recording back then. It was a sound like the ones shown in internet videos, like a gigantic vibration that at the same time is ultrasonic, and as if it penetrated beyond your ears, very similar to the background sound of the holograms in my scene. Minutes later, I got home and went to sleep, but ironically, I felt it even stronger than outside. And even though I covered my head with a pillow to see if I could avoid hearing it, it had the opposite effect. I felt it even more inside my ears. I never heard it again. 2. Apocalyptic music. Electric music and black music uniting campy music that leads the world into chaos. A commentator notes the fulfilled prophecy. Coincidentally, it ends in my year of birth. It says that black music summons demons that cause addictions and bring the end, fulfilled in artists who follow the tradition of the origins of African American rock, of making pacts with spirits for fame and fortune, but who transmits vices. Cell phones with screens at the same time as the electronic versions of Lit's Dreams of Love. I remember I had it on my Nokia, and it was one of the tunes I listened to the most. 3. The Apocalypse of the Church. The falsehood and corruption of the Church exposed. The historic resignation of the Pope, the surprise of 2 popes, the prophecies of the final popes, of Saint Malachi, Saint Malachi? He reminds me of someone. Oh yes, of course. It's the same. At this point, nothing surprises me. That would be like a 5D joke from God, giving me the face of Saint Malachi while the prophecies of the apocalyptic popes are fulfilled, and I fulfill the prophecies of Parravicini. I can almost hear gods laughing from eternity. Ha, 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 ha. The Great Pope, a cosmic joke. A cosmic comic. How funny. 4. The Age of the Antichrist. Modern Babylon, the crown of the dragon, the creators of the false modern Israel to bring the apocalypse. But its fall and redemption are written. Even the Rothschild of the Synagogue of Satan copied the prophetic image of the shadow attacking the light and covering everything, but they made their satanic, blooded, dark version since their cult is evil. The invocation of the apocalyptic angel of death at the Olympics. The Antichrist over humanity, just like the Zionist caricature and the inverted cross of the Antichrist, the horns of the beast, and the occultist secret sign. It was a secret to take to the grave, but that ended because this is the final revelation. Also with the columns and the triangle that erroneously deifies the Hebrew language. It even announces that from 1967 to 1971, the Antichrist makes war with a drawing like the previous one. And in those years, first Israel made war against the Arabs. In 71, there was also the Indo-Pakistani War, which has now been reactivated, and it was discovered that Israel had been arming the conflict. Of course, coincidentally, just before it resurfaced, I had been reviewing the original file from before 2016, where I had placed those images, and as usual, shortly afterward, it appeared. Chan. The Antichrist arrives in 71, and the millionaire technocrat, born in 71, dresses as the Antichrist. The Antichrist in 74, and that year, a movie about the Antichrist was released, as well as the Middle East Agreement and many wars. The False Messiah, the False Christ of the Vatican Satanic Version, the Age of Atheism, Egyptian occultism in Argentine governments, and as I already shown, the fourth crown of death of the apocalypse, like the fur rate or the corona with the fourth industrial revolution of automated death. 666 in biotechnology, even the reference to tango in Argentina with the club of the censored ones with the same name, which will later turn into victory. And this brings the eternal crisis, homelessness, hunger, poverty, and zombie people hung like puppets. No one understood what this one meant, but this precisely proves that the prophecies were made from the astral plane to remain mysterious until they are identified with their fulfillment. It needs no explanation. Who could have known this for so long ago, if not a real prophet inspired by the all-seeing eye beyond time and space, waiting for someone to put all the pieces of the puzzles together. 5. Catastrophes of apocalyptic magnitude. Disasters with infinite migrants on boats. People fleeing flames in the water. Worldwide fire like never before. Historic global freeze, even in my city. The prophecies even say it changes the deserts. Smoke covering the light of day and darkening of the sun. Giant floods, a biblical reference to the end. Sinking of London. Worldwide fog and smoke. And the collapse of civilization. In fact, at one point, I posted the prophecy of the Om, which is the order magna of the eye of God over the collapse. And then this was fulfilled in a Middle Eastern city where the eye cloud appeared before the earthquake. I even showed that the eye cloud was the same as my apocalypse eye cloud dream. It wasn't just a cloud fulfilling it, but the combination of the eye and the collapse. To clarify, I did not wish for or project an earthquake in Turkey, but I show that what's coming in the world if it continues on this course, causing that this will repeat without limit. I also showed the dream of the red sun, of the apocalypse and the collapse of China, and the same red sun occurred with the earthquake. I didn't wish that on them either, but although I cannot prove it to you, the day before it happened, tired of having given so much and received so little from humanity, I looked at the sky and told God, you know what? Today, I don't have the strength to project hope for humanity, even hope for humanity myself. It seems they have no intention of changing much, and it looks like you see it more clearly than I do, and it seems that you are waiting for me to get tired to set judgment. So if today you want to start with the earthquake, go for it. Today I don't have the energy to care. The next day, the earthquake happened with the same red sun I showed. Much of the people there will never know, but the sign from heaven was clear for me, only for me. And now you can see it too. 6. The mask of the apocalypse. The reign of mask everywhere. Mask of controlled false revolutionaries. The mask and Anonymous. People think it's a copy of V for Vendetta, but that fiction is actually a copy of the Argentine Prophecies, which also have the V and the mask in London. The V is of the Fifth Empire of God. In the movie, there is a false revolution that leaves the armed forces intact. In reality, at the end of the fulfillment prophecies, there are no wars or armies of the right or the false leftist control revolutionaries. The world in disguise and the circus of the church. You can even see how he started with a small red nose from afar, but ended up invading everything, leaving the Pope almost invisible. This was not prophesied by a conspiracy theorist or Illuminati cards, but is a copy of the true Argentine prophecies. 7. The clowns of the apocalypse, the circus world that brings the end with dances. Governments of clowns until enough arrives. Governments of pirates until order arrives. They even copied the guitar. This refers to rulers coming from lodges involving in human trafficking and using children's hospital as a front to traffic and abuse children, apparently. 8. Apocalyptic sexual crisis, anti-maternity, worldwide sterilization of men and women, abortion, promotion of euthanasia, change of sexual roles, women in public nudity and the feminization of men, people acting like dogs, anti-male and matriarchy. False feminist freedom and failure, falling birth rates, gender crisis, etc. And the revelation of the fraud of feminism, since it was financed by governments to divide and destroy, an obvious fact since they deceive men and women for so many frauds perpetrated by white and black men and women, Argentinians, Northerns, Jews and non-Jews, following the religion of money and vices. You can even see the same guitar. It is false that Northern cinema predicted wokeism. They appropriated the real Argentine prophecies and falsified their meaning so people will accept the propaganda of anti-Christian millionaires. They show a peaceful and technologically advanced society as ridiculous, so people accept the satanic police state as a false savior. They mix and distort everything. 9. Weapons of the apocalypse. Silent weapons like infrasonic cannons that disperse protesters. Of course, the police were filmed leaving beforehand. In the prophecy, you can see the same position of the hands on the head, as if God had said, "You won't understand this picture now, but in a few decades it will be crystal clear." Weather modification, antennas, directing energy lasers, psycho-emotional manipulation, frequencies, illness-causing frequencies. All silent weapons. At the same time as the symptoms of the Great Cold, soft weapons like the all untraceable heart attack darts and the new biological weapons brought by the military and the government, which many in authority know are a fraud and secretly avoided while promoting them. You can even see them marching in line and to the rhythm of the guitar. Why does the Anmat have the satanic owl? Surely it must be a symbol of wisdom, right? Supercancers, neurological problems, and collective madness. Obviously, in the three prophecies of this you can see a needle piercing everything. What a coincidence. But the end is written. It's as if God could already see the plans of the satanic elite. I mean, that's how it seems, right? Take it with a grain of salt. Oh no, wait, it's just like that, alright? Period. Honestly, they better end this now, because if I have to suffer from that problem one more time, I will open the doors of endless hell over every court and government and authority of earth. 10. The Argentinian Apocalypse. Argentina made poor. With earthquakes, provoke disease, floods, with crime unleashed. In one picture, it summarizes the Argentinian situation by combining all the elements: the mask, Zionism, feminism, and the waters. But among all this, it highlights that Argentina will maintain a higher spiritual connection with Spain that we can see fulfilled in the past and the present. 11. The North American Apocalypse. The fall of North America and its pictures of freedom. The Middle Eastern guerrillas created by the North turn against it. the invasion of the world by North America for oil. It even became a meme. In the prophecy, it even placed the elephant shape over South America as a spirit trying to absorb another, helping the crown also invade Argentina. But its fall is also written. I mean, the presidential car is called the Beast, and the government building is the Owl of Hell, eating the government building. What more do you even need? Even the fall of the Statue of Liberty was fulfilled in miniature as a preview. Right after I uploaded it to the internet with AI, if I were from the north, I take it as a warning. So all those movies predicted nothing. Nor northern informants, nor fake Illuminati cards. They copied the Argentinian prophecy to try to divert their fulfillment, but of course they can't. I already clarified this a long time ago. Why didn't any supposedly truth channels share it and keep repeating conspiracy memes? Because they're not in the truth. They are false. The only ones who will understand what is happening are the few who watch me. The rest will be completely lost into perdition. 12. The Chinese Apocalypse. Chinese dictatorship from the past to modernity. China's invasion of the world with its bases and ships, like in Argentina, which has been invaded by everyone, like in the prophecies. 13. The Israeli Apocalypse. The Zionist invasion, which when it was still a possibility, the Argentinian prophecy already saw it fulfilled. The foundation of the Zionist nation of anti-Israel, Zionist war crimes such as genocide, nuclear arms trafficking, and manipulation for war, false flag attacks, forced sterilization, forest fires, infanticide, self-attacks on their embassies where there are no Jewish casualties and it is discovered that it was Mossad. The same scenario, the repetition of Iranian passport among the rubble, the accusation of a car bomb that didn't exist, Israeli authorities unharmed, an inside job. As the documentary says, the rulers who tried to nationalize oil were overthrown. The beginning of the end with Israel's attack on Palestine, citing biblical prophecy. No, a Madonna concert didn't predict it either. That was another copy of the Argentinian prophecy. Israel invading Argentina decades before it happened. It is now made evident to fulfill the prophecy. With the government's submission to Zionism, you can even see partial control of the waters against hell freedom, persecuting anti-Zionists, provoking Christianity, open enemies of sovereignty, protecting war criminals, provoking fires, showing the map of Argentina, pretending secrecy, but to be seen on the internet clearly, to fulfill the prophecy, again and again, so the picture is clearly fulfilled. The prophecy even says how South Americans would find themselves without land or belongings, and it was fulfilled perfectly. And the government boasts of laws that open free purchase to foreigners and treat Argentinians as the problems. As if God knew the plans of the evil one in advance. Before you think they're going to turn Argentina into Gaza, Israel will become Gaza. And no, it wasn't prophesied by an Argentinian military man. First came the prophecy. But of course, after I explain how the prophecies clearly shown Zion as one of the heads of the Antichrist, campaigns appear trying to convince people otherwise, but they are terrible. They basically have nothing to show. It also prophesies Zionist dominance over the world, with many informants demonstrated as controlling intelligence agencies and police. In the city of the Satanic Owl, of course, Mossad controlling spy networks, making secret files of everyone who is anti-Zionist, infanticidal controlling churches, politicians, and armies, Jewish supremacism in human trafficking circles, controlling technologies and entertainment. As can be seen in this small preview, Jolly Good is a factory of golems, that is, rabbinical automatons. So you're constantly watching remakes of their golem over and over again. No wonder so many people are freaking puppets, controlling right and left. It even prophesies nationalism. Just in case, just to clarify, I am not a Nazi, guys. I even never read Mein Kampf, alright? Wait a minute. Mein Kampf? That sounds familiar. Mein Kampf. Now that I think about it, let me see. Ah, wait a second. Mein Kampf. I read Mein Kampf every time I edit a video. Mein Kampf. Is that you, Führer? Mein Kampf. Mein Kampf. Okay, let's continue. And the memes that if you start investigating are probably true. At this point, many are. But it is written that the serpent is exposed to be destroyed. And that is why you see external and internal resistance. They try to force the prophecy, but they can't. It only fulfilled when I project it, and that God gave the okay. Obviously, God is watching 24/7 every picture or word I say it. In the end, the Argentinian prophecies are like the biblical ones. The Jews will be forgiven as a people, but only after redemption under Jesus Christ with the new man. Until then, they will be in final judgment. It was not prophesied by false English-speaking informants. That is a bad copy of the real Argentinian prophecies. In fact, the viral interview says there would first be a nuclear attack and then a real pandemic, which didn't happen at all. But it is full of false prophets trying to manipulate the true prophecies. And the number of snakes evangelists saying that the modern Israel is chosen by Jesus and that it is fine for them to do whatever they want to the rest of the world without consequences. What a bunch of vipers. I wonder why the prophecies depict them as the serpent, and Revelation as the synagogue of Satan. 14. The final apocalyptic war with China, Russia, and the United States. Guerrillas and global criminals. And Caribbean chaos, driving the world to final chaos. Bringing poverty, homelessness, and hunger until everything explodes. Causing massacres, people abandoning bunkers, and the reduction of the world to caves. And no, Call of Duty didn't predict it either. It's another northern fiction copying the real prophecy to try to divert it in their favor. But it won't work. It will fail. The prophecy even calls it the Invisible World War because it advances without being declared and people get used to it. And it is full of people right now who incredibly keep asking, when it is going to start? It's as if they're trying to think the Third World War begins only when rulers announce it together on TV, or they're conditioned to believe it starts with nuclear bombings like in the movies. But that is not the beginning. That would be the endless end once it has already begun. Even though most people believe it hasn't started, we are already in World War III. It is just invisible for most people to see. Everyone is bombing each other and trafficking and financing each other. In fact, it is said World War I began with the assassination of an archduke. That, of course, was replicated some years ago. And World War II began with the invasion of Poland. It is not like that happened and everyone said, well, the World War has started. And that was the headlines and that was the conversation. No. So now we are already far past what can be called the beginning of World War III. The slow beginning was in 2001 and was completed with the situation in Palestine. Now would be the middle. If it were up to me, I speed it up in record time or end it all. Right now, honestly. but it doesn't seem that rulers and their subjects are changing much. Alrighty then. This was part 1. So I will continue explaining how it goes on, but just in case, I advise foreigners, if everything blows up and does not stop, God's plan is Argentina as a shelter. That is the prophecy. If it were up to me, I'd change it in one day. But if it keeps getting worse, that is the prophecy. Continues in part 2. The end without end.